Welcome to the Know. I'm Brian. It is the most wonderful time of year, guys. E3 is in full swing. Ashley and our team are there in LA with live streams of all the big announcements. But right now, if you're not caught up to speed, we're here. We're in Austin. We're going to run down all of the big highlights from the press conferences so far. Let's get it started with EA, which kicked off the E3 presentations on Saturday. They brought a ton of news, starting with the much anticipated Star Wars game from developer Respawn. It's called Jedi Fallen Order, and it's going to focus on the period in the movies between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope when Jedi were being hunted down and killed, so it sounds super dark, super cool. It's due out holidays of next year. Speaking of Star Wars, they also touched on Battlefront 2. It is headed to the Clone Wars era. The game is getting a bunch of new heroes and maps from that era, along with a new squad system and some new modes. There's also going to be new heroes, including General Grievous, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and of course, Anakin Skywalker. More big news from EA included Battlefield 5, and guess what? It's getting a Battle Royale mode, of course. Yes, 2018 is officially the year that all the big publishers are getting in on that craze. You can also expect a lot of destructible environments too. They talked about that a lot. Okay, moving on. EA also unveiled Unravel 2, which is a pretty sweet looking co-op adventure. If you didn't play the first one, it features characters made out of yarn. The art style, very unique. Best of all, it's available right now for PS4, Xbox One, and PC. I wish more devs would do that. Just announce the game and be like, and you can go play it now. All right, EA also announced the indie Aqua game called Sea of Solitude. That's due out next year. They also talked about Command & Conquer. That's returning, but it's as a mobile game. This one is called Command & Conquer Rivals. We also got the latest footage from all of EA's sports franchises, FIFA, Madden, and of course we heard a lot about Anthem. That's the much anticipated new IP from BioWare. It's due out early 2019. It seems like they pushed that back a little bit, and we saw some really cool looking gameplay that showed off players in their exosuits, and it was all from a third person perspective. They were doing a lot of combat, fighting giant bosses. Looked very cool, almost like a mecha game. All right, so that rounds it up for EA. Now on to Microsoft's Xbox presentation, and they went to their big guns immediately, showing off a trailer for the new game Halo Infinite, which promises a lot more Master Chief. He even had his helmet off at one point. We don't have a release date yet. Definitely a good sign, though, that Xbox is going back to its roots. This was a really strong presentation, I thought, for Microsoft and Xbox. Great news for those players. Then, and what's going to be one of E3's most talked about games, we got a look at the latest game from Hidetaka Miyazaki, who created Dark Souls and Bloodborne. He's back with a new game called Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. The best way I can describe it is it looks like a samurai Dark Souls, and I mean that in a very good way. It's coming next year for Xbox One, PS4, and PC. We also got a look at Fallout 76, which looks like it's definitely an online base building game. It's set in the beautiful countryside of West Virginia. Bethesda dug more in depth on that, so we'll talk about that a bit later. Microsoft also showed off Ori and the Will of the Wisps. That's coming in 2019, and like all Ori games, it looks beautiful. Microsoft also announced the awesome adventures of Captain Spirit, and we got some more footage of Crackdown 3, which you might remember was recently delayed until early next year. There was also some sweet new footage of Metro Exodus, which releases February 22nd of next year, and Kingdom Hearts 3 fans got their first look at the new Frozen world in the game. That is definitely going to be good news to Disney fans of all ages. They also announced that Kingdom Hearts 3 has been pushed back to early next year, January 29th to be exact. Xbox One and PS4 it's coming to. Microsoft also announced Forza Horizon 4, which releases on October 2nd, and another huge announcement, The Division 2. It looked awesome, showed off some jungle scenery, nice change of pace. It's releasing March 15th of 2019. We also got to see some more of Shadow of the Tomb Raider, which releases September 14th, and the much anticipated Devil May Cry 5 was finally unveiled with an absolutely insane trailer. It looked amazing. It's due out early next year. Microsoft also showed off a skating game called Session, and they announced some new DLC for one of their biggest exclusives of last year, Cuphead. That DLC is called The Delicious Last Course. It features a new isle, new bosses, new weapons, and a new playable character, Ms. Chalice. That's due out next year. Microsoft also announced Jump Force from Bandai Namco, which is a big crossover fighting game. And when I say crossover, it is crossing over a lot of stuff. It's bringing together characters from Dragon Ball, Naruto, One Piece, and Death Note. Coming out in 2019. We also got premieres of Dying Light 2, Just Cause 4, which is due out later this year on December 4th, and a brand new Gears of War 5. We're just ODing on games at this point. Oh, and for old school gamers like myself, they announced that they're working on a brand new Battletoads game, which if you're old like me, you remember it being a tough as hell platformer from the early 90s. They're gonna redo it. Looks like hand-drawn stuff, 2.5D. I'm super excited. Of course I'm excited. Phil Spencer also announced that they are working on the newest Xbox console, but didn't give any more details. And for the big finale, we got a trailer for CD Projekt Red's much anticipated Cyberpunk 2077. Definitely a highlight. It looks a little Blade Runner-ish. It's set in a dystopian, futuristic metropolis. Everything is violent and gritty, but it looks amazing to say the least. All right, that brings us to Bethesda, who made big headlines by announcing that they're working on an Elder Scrolls 6 game. Holy shit, it's finally here. They didn't give a ton of details besides a quick teaser trailer, showed off some mountains and a logo, but that's definitely gonna be enough to set the internet ablaze. We also got to look at more footage from Rage 2, while musician Andrew WK rocked out. That was a cool moment. Bethesda showed off some gameplay footage. We saw a lot of vehicle driving, as well as some neon pink multiplayer combat. They also announced a sequel to Wolfenstein 2 called Wolfenstein Youngblood, which is set in the 1980s. Oh, and you get to play as BJ and Anya's twins, which means you can play co-op. That's definitely going to be awesome. We also got a look at the sequel to Doom, which is called Doom Eternal. And they announced new DLC for Prey, as well as a new Game Plus mode and other goodies. Bethesda also talked a lot more about Fallout 76, which it called a softcore survival game where you'll play online with dozens of other players. It's coming out November 14th. And to wrap things up, Bethesda also dropped a very short teaser trailer for its first new IP in a long time. It's a space game called Starfield. Interestingly, they also described it as next gen, so we might not be getting to play it on the current crop of consoles. Not quite sure yet. Last but not least, Square Enix presentation was earlier today. They kicked off things with a gameplay reveal of Shadow of the Tomb Raider, which, like we said, releases September 14th. The footage showed off Lara Croft doing her thing. She's hiding in trees, she's running, jumping, pulling off some gory stealth kills. Next up, we saw a Monster Hunter World and Final Fantasy XIV crossover. Very interesting. That's due out this summer. Then we saw a little bit more of the awesome adventures of Captain Spirit. That's from the devs at Don't Nod. It's set in the Life is Strange universe. It releases June 26th. Oh, and then we got some more footage of a personal favorite of mine that I'm looking forward to, Dragon Quest XI. It's finally coming to the West on September 4th. It's got some beautiful characters from longtime Dragon Quest and Dragon Ball artist Akira Toriyama, plus, of course, classic Dragon Quest gameplay. We got slimes, we got orbs, we got everything. Next up was Babylon's Fall. Looks like a dark fantasy game from Platinum Games, who made Nier Automata. That's coming to the PS4 and Steam next year. Speaking of Nier Automata, they showed off a special edition called Nier Automata The Become as Gods edition. That's coming to the Xbox One June 26th. It includes the expansion and some DLC. We also got a quick look at the old school sprite-based JRPG Octopath Traveler. That's coming to the Switch July 14th. We're very excited about that here at The Note. And then they spent a lot of time with Just Cause 4. That's got some new vehicles. It's coming to the Xbox One, PS4, and Steam on December 5th. We also saw a new game from Square Enix called The Quiet Man. They didn't show a lot. It was some kind of gritty alley street fighting, but then they wrapped things up with Kingdom Hearts 3 footage. Again, showing off the new Frozen world, as well as worlds from Tangled, Toy Story, and more. Big surprise at the end was the reveal of Aqua from Birth by Sleep. She's still alive, and she's evil, it looks like. Holy crap. That's where Square Enix left things off. All right, that's about it for our E3 wrap up. What were your highlights? I'm out of breath. This is exhausting, but there's so much stuff. Like, each of these is a story in its own. Let us know what you think in the comments. And like I said, we're at E3 right now, so keep it tuned right here. We're gonna get to our Ubisoft press conference coverage real quick, so be sure to check that out later today. And when I say crossover, it is crossing over a lot of stuff, bringing together characters from Dragon Ball, Naruto, One Piece, and Death Note. Look for that in 2019.
I don't want you to get out of
Naruto?
Naruto.
God, okay.
I don't want you to get out of
No, thank you. And when